Hey guys, back here with BioLayne Video Log number 9 now, I guess it is. Been traveling a lot, probably 8 out of the last 10 weeks. I think I figured it out. It was like something like 35 out of the last 70 days we've been traveling everywhere from Las Vegas to Miami to Indiana, Illinois, Mexico, so pretty much everywhere. And so I haven't really had a chance to get updated on the video logs and everything, which I apologize about, but we're going to kick them back off. So today what I want to talk about was metabolic damage, or metabolic crashing, or a lot of different terms that people will come up with. I'm big on science. You guys know this. I'm big on evidence, empirical evidence, but I also know that there's certain things that just through the sheer volume of people I've worked with, I counted it up, and I've worked with just over 1,000 people since I've been in business over the last 7 years or so. Just the sheer volume of people I've worked with, I've noticed some things that I know to be true, but we don't necessarily have the science yet to back it up. And one of the things I've noticed is definitely noticed this metabolic crashing, and one of the things that I think is the biggest detriment to people overall long-term body fat loss, and especially for competitors who are wanting to get into shape, every year, every 2 years. A lot of them, especially, I don't mean to stereotype, but especially females go through this a lot. And so, I guess in terms of talking philosophy, what is it? And basically, metabolic crashing, I define it as the point where your metabolism is so repressed that you simply lose the ability to drop body fat without starvation. And my best way to describe that more accurately is to give you an example of somebody you all probably know, or maybe this has happened to you in the past. I'll use the example of a bikini or figure competitor just because it's very, very common with them. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's these coaches, the diets they put them on. I mean, I will say I know that there are a lot of popular coaches. I use that term extremely loosely. These people wouldn't know their ass from a hole in the ground, nutritionally speaking. But there's a lot of coaches out there that put these girls on essentially starvation diets. And what you see is you get to the point where the end product of, after several months or even a year of doing this, is these people are eating extremely low calories, 800 to 1,000 per day, doing 2 to 3 hours of cardio, steady state cardio per day, and they cannot lose body fat. They cannot lose weight. And if you look at the caloric input and output, I mean, they sit there and say, God, I'm doing 2 hours of cardio a day. I'm burning, 1,000 calories from cardio, and I'm eating 1,000 calories. How am I not losing weight? And it's because their metabolism has adapted to the low calorie intake and the high calorie output so much to the point where they essentially get no caloric burn from doing that kind of cardio, and they have very, very little thermic effective food. They have very, very little basal metabolic rate. They've just completely destroyed their metabolic capacity through low calorie dieting. And I'll give you kind of a better example of how this comes up. Typically what will happen is, let's say in the case of a competitor, and again, using the example of figure bikini, a gal will do a show. Let's say she's got a spring show, and she decides, okay, she's going to do a show. she hires a coach, and let's say they're actually kind of competent. All right, they put her on a reasonable diet, and she, you know, has a little bit of trouble getting lean, but, you know, only has to go to like, you know, 1,300 calories to get to, you know, competition level, and she does relatively well. But then after the show, after never having been on that type of diet, it's very, very, very common for men and women to binge after a show and put on 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds within a, you know, few days or weeks time after the show. And so you're putting on all that body fat very quickly, very, very quickly. Well, the problem with that is you're putting on that body fat so fast, but your metabolism has not had the time to recover from that diet. So you've put back on all the body fat without recovering your metabolic rate. And there's actually studies out there looking at long-term caloric restriction. How long does it take to recover? And typically, based on the studies, it takes almost as long as the dieting period to get your metabolic rate back up, to get it back to normal. And I discovered this my last go around when I dieted for shows in 2010. I dieted for the better part of 35 weeks, and it was about, you know, 3/4 of a year until I felt normal again after I was back on normal calories. So the problem becomes they'll do that show or a couple shows, and then judges will tell them, well, you know, you should really do the show in fall. You know, you should do this show in fall, or you should do the show in summer, whatever. And so now they have to diet down again, but they haven't recovered the metabolic rate, and they've put on a lot of the fat back on, or all the fat back on. So now they have to go even lower calorie this time. And they're probably still able to get in pretty good shape, but they have to go much more aggressive. And then after that show, same cycle repeats itself. They eat a lot, put a lot of body fat back on, and now you start to get to the point after a few cycles of this going back through, they get to the point where a lot of them have a real problem getting lean enough. And people won't believe me. I know for a fact, I've seen people, I've seen men and women who are on just insanely low calories. I worked with a gal who was down, her coach just destroyed her, had her down to around 600 calories per day and doing, you know, 2.5 hours of cardio per day, and she could not drop body fat. And her coach accused her of not following the protocol, and basically just dumped her because he didn't want to be associated with her if she was going to do bad at shows, which is a whole nother rant I could go on. But in any case, so this person, you know, was basically just completely destroyed metabolically. And one of the things I'll talk about for people, you know, the off season isn't just there to gain, yes, it's there to gain muscle, yes, it's there to make improvements, but it's also there to maximize your metabolic capacity, to maximize your capacity to lose fat. Let me ask you this question. Who has a better shot at getting stage lean? Someone who is 15% body fat, needs to lose about 30, let's say they need to lose about, I don't know, 25, 30 pounds to be stage lean. Who has more chance to lose body fat? The person that's maintaining their weight on 250 grams of carbs a day, or the person that's maintaining their weight on 500 grams of carbs per day? Well, intuitively we know it's the person maintaining their weight on 500 grams of carbs a day on that higher caloric intake, because when you start dieting them, they obviously can start at a higher level of calorie intake, and when they hit sticking points, now you've got more room to move. I've had people come to me who their off-season carb intake was like 120, 150 grams of carbs a day, and you know, around 1,600 calories. And my first question is, okay, what do you expect me to cut from? Like, what are we going, there's no magic here. You know, a lot of people think, oh, well, if I get this, you know, this magical food plan that has these certain special food, that's complete nonsense. Get that out of your brain. You have to have the metabolic capacity to lose fat. If you are maintaining your weight on 1,400 calories a day or 1,200 calories a day, you don't have the metabolic capacity to do that. You have to take care of your metabolism. So that's kind of how it's caused, like what's going on. How do you prevent that? Or once you have it, how do you fix that? First off, the best way to prevent it is 1, give yourself enough time to diet down. 2, take care of your metabolism in the off season. Really focus on slowly and deliberately adding calories over time. And 3, do not go on a starvation diet. Give yourself plenty of time. If you think you need 12 weeks, take 16 weeks. If you think you need 16 weeks, take 20 weeks. And go slow. Make small adjustments. Don't just jump to a super low calorie diet. Don't do that. It's a terrible idea. I tell people all the time, you should eat the maximum amount of calories that you possibly can while still losing body fat at the appropriate rate. Now that amount is going to be different for everybody. But you should never go lower than is required to drop the body fat you need. And a lot of people do that. I worked with a very well-known figure person who they had really good metabolism and they were able to get lean very often. Very few times would they have to go even under 120 grams of carbs a day, which for a figure person who's 120 pounds, that's pretty good intake. Very, very, very seldom would they have to go under that to get competition lean. I mean, real lean. And they would often work with another coach for a while, and that individual just immediately put them on a very low calorie diet. Immediately. And within the course of about 9 months to kind of really beat down that individual's metabolism. Now, we were able to recover it, but it just goes to show that it's something you really got to take care of. If you don't take care of it, you'll lose it. The other thing too is don't do a ton of low intensity cardio. Low intensity cardio has been shown to reduce metabolic rate over time. Okay? And a good example of that is people who have just done a bunch of it intuitively. What the research shows is that when you add low intensity cardio, you will get an initial drop in body weight for about a week, at least based on the research. Then it will stagnate. Okay? So you're only getting a little jump, and then basically your metabolism adapts and you actually get to the point where you need that level of cardio just to maintain your weight. High intensity intervals are the only form of cardio that does not drop metabolic rate. Sorry. And also, now I'm not saying never do low intensity cardio, but what I'm saying is you should never be at the point where you're doing 2 hours of low intensity cardio a day. That's completely asinine. I would even say 1 hour of low intensity cardio a day is complete overkill. You need to take care of your metabolism and do a proper amount of high intensity intervals spaced in with some low intensity cardio for a calorie burn. But if you look at it, it may not make sense intuitively, but think about a marathon runner or a swimmer, somebody who does a ton of low intensity cardio. If you look at somebody training for a marathon, there is no way they should be able to eat enough calories based on the amount of calories they should burn from what they're doing. There is no way they should be able to eat enough calories to maintain their body weight, but they do. Why is that? Well, your number one goal for your body is survival. And your body does not want to let yourself starve, does not want to let you starve. So if you go low calorie or very high activity for low intensity cardio, for steady state cardio, your body will reduce its metabolic rate in order to prevent you from starving yourself. And so it's kind of a protective mechanism that develops. And anybody who's been through a long contest prep doing a lot of low intensity cardio probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. You get a little bump and then you don't get any more out of that particular amount of cardio. So it's very easy, and let's be frank here, low intensity steady state cardio is a mindless, easy form of cardio. It is just easy to sit there and look at the TV for whatever amount of time. It's not easy to get out and go do car pushes. It's not easy to do sled drags. It's not easy to do sprints. But let me tell you what, that stuff works. And just as kind of an aside to that on cardio, There was a recent study looking at people doing an hour of steady state cardio at 3 miles per hour on a treadmill. Either that or doing 6 30-second sprints. Okay? You're talking about an hour work versus, basically 3 total minutes of work. Now, they were resting in between those sprints, so the amount of time it took them to go for that amount was, ended up probably being around, 20, 30 minutes, because they were making sure they were fully recovered. But just 6 30-second sprints compared to 1 hour of 3 mile per hour low intensity cardio, the people doing the sprints lost twice as much body fat. Okay? So just, there you go right there. I don't want to hear about, you burn, greater percentage of fat when you're doing low intensity cardio. At the end of the day, when you look at the actual fat loss numbers, high intensity rules. Again, I'm not saying never do low intensity, but you need the fastest way to really break down your metabolism and really repress it is doing a ton of low intensity cardio, and I do not recommend it. Now, if you are already metabolically damaged, you have those symptoms I talk about, how do you recover that? First off, stop competing if you're competing. You need to take time off. Trying to compete in spring shows and fall shows is a recipe for disaster unless you're one of the blessed few people who have a very fast metabolism and you take care of it and you can kind of just stay at that level of leanness and keep doing shows, then more power to you. But that is a very, very small percentage of people. But if you are already metabolically damaged, you have these symptoms I talk about, if you keep trying to compete, you will keep having trouble getting lean enough and you will keep exacerbating this problem. You need to take time off and you need to slowly and deliberately increase calories every week. And that may be even as small as adding just 5 grams of carbs in a week. And what happens when you do a very slow, deliberate increase in calories, the amount of calories you add in over time is not predictive of the weight gain you get. And let me explain that. A lot of people try to look at metabolism as a simple equation, a simple math problem. Okay, if I want to gain a pound or lose a pound, I just need to go, either 500 calories over or 500 calories under my maintenance per day. But we all know that it doesn't work out that way. Like when you're somebody who has a fast metabolism in the off season, they add 500 calories, they might gain a pound for a week or two, and then all of a sudden it stagnates. Well, did they automatically just jump their maintenance up 500 calories? Well, no, but the body adjusted for that. Your body is going to try to adjust to get back to homeostasis. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. So if you're taking very small increases in calories, your body tends to, and I don't have a good scientific explanation for this, I will be blatantly honest, we do not know how this works just now, but I've done it with, I don't want to say hundreds, but dozens of competitors and seen this. That if you're just, adding, 5 grams carbs here, 1 gram fat here, 2 grams fat here, 10 grams carbs here, over time, your body tends to just kind of absorb that, for lack of a better word, and not really get a bump in weight gain. Now, you may have periodic small fluctuations in weight that are just typical. I mean, it's typical for weight to fluctuate anywhere from 1% to 2%, even every day. So don't let small fluctuations disturb you. But I'll take an example of a gal I worked with she's from the Northwest, and again, her coach, did all the stuff I'm talking about. She was eating 800 calories a day, doing 2 hours of cardio a day when I started working with her. And I said, okay, we really got to repair your metabolism. We did the things I talk about, and we did this over about a 1.5 year period, I think. And by the end, she was maintaining her weight. She was actually like just a little bit above contest weight, like only a couple pounds. She was maintaining her weight on 325 grams of carbs per day. We're talking about a gal who weighs about 110 pounds. she was maintaining her weight on 325 grams of carbs a day and like over 2,000 calories. You know, she had improved her metabolic capacity so much that getting lean was easy for her. In fact, I have a couple clients now who I'm working with who came to me, same sort of scenario, metabolically damaged. Now, unfortunately, they were already at a higher body fat level. They weren't contest lean. So, you know, it's been psychologically more difficult for them because they still feel uncomfortable with their bodies, and I understand that. But I explained to them that we're trying to repair their metabolism, get them healthy, and then we can have the metabolic capacity to diet them down. But trying to diet down when you're already metabolically damaged is the worst thing you can possibly do. It's just going to result in frustration, further starvation, and further damage to your metabolism. Anyway, I took these gals, and they're anywhere from 20 to 30% body fat, but even at the same caloric level I'm talking about, this is how badly damaged these people were. And now I've got them eating so much food that over the course of 6 months to a year, now they're eating so much food that I actually say, I'm so full, please don't give me any more food. But they've gotten to the point where now they are at a reasonable metabolic capacity to start dieting down, to start attempting to lose body fat. And what you find when you do that, when you really take care of your metabolism in the off season, and you have a good transition, you don't binge after a show and put on a bunch of fat, is it really makes things much, much easier moving forward. That dieting and binging cycle is probably the worst thing you can possibly get into. And for people out there that go through that, I want you to know that that's very common. Don't feel like you're a huge failure. Don't feel like, oh my God, I'm so terrible because I can't stick to this. Look, there is nobody on earth who can stick to tilapia and broccoli 365 days a year. I don't care what they say. And I know a lot of, top competitors out there who say, oh, I eat quote unquote clean, whatever the hell that means. I don't know if that means you spray Windex on your food, but I eat clean year round. Implying that they're eating fish and chicken and broccoli. I mean, when I've seen them out gorging themselves on pizza, gorging themselves on, burritos or whatever have you, with the qualification, oh, it's my cheat day. No, that's a binge is what that is. And that's never healthy. You need to take care of your metabolism. You need to work this out in such a way that is a reasonable lifestyle for you to stick to. You shouldn't have to feel guilty about going out and having a slice of pizza or having a little bowl of ice cream or something like that if you fit it into your macronutrient guidelines. And that's a far, far, far more reasonable thing to stick to over a long period of time than just, okay, you're going to eat chicken and broccoli and, once a week go out and have a cheat meal. What I've seen with those people is they lose a little bit of weight during the week, and then on the weekends when they have their cheat meal, they regain everything they lost, and they end up spinning their wheels over time. Now, not everybody's like that, and some people have really fast metabolisms that can tolerate those big cheat days. But I just don't think it's a healthy mindset to be in, to say, essentially promoting binges. And I've seen it, really break down metabolisms over time. So again, if I had to come back to a summary of this entire video log, the biggest thing is, give yourself enough time to diet down, take care of your metabolism in the off season, always be trying to, push more calories in, slowly and controlled. I don't mean go out and add 200 grams of carbs to your diet tomorrow. I mean adding 200 grams of carbs to your diet over the course of maybe a year and a half, 2 years or something like that, very slowly. But over time, that is going to make your metabolism so much better, and you have such a better metabolic capacity to lose body fat than you would if you just did the traditional, super low calorie, then binge after I reach my goal or my show or whatever, put on all that body fat back on, and then try to lose it again. That's so critical. Taking care of your metabolism in the off season, and then taking care of it when you diet down. When you hit a sticking point, don't automatically feel like, oh, I'm not losing weight, so I have to drop 500 calories to get my weight loss started again. No, absolutely not. Most times dropping, just 5 to 10% of your calories will get you started right back up, or just adding in a little bit more high intensity cardio, or maybe even some low intensity cardio. But you should never, never, ever find yourself in a position where you're consuming less than 1,000 calories a day, doing hours of cardio, and can't lose body fat. That's not normal. That's not right. And if somebody is promoting that to you, you need to run the other direction as fast as you possibly can. And so that's pretty much all I have for this video log. I hope this has been helpful for some people. I find this is one of the most frustrating topics for competitors, especially when they find themselves in this position, because they really feel helpless. They feel like, they're working really, really hard and they're getting nowhere. And so hopefully this video log has been helpful for you guys. I really hope so. If you have any questions about it, always feel free to email me. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. And hope you guys have a really happy holiday season. Thanks.